Hello everyone. Here we are then. The final session in our To The Limit series. My name's Rich. I'll be leading you through the session. If you've made it this far in the series and done each of the previous sessions, I mean, firstly, well done. This is a tough series. It was always intended to be, hence the name To The Limit. As you will have experienced, if you've done any more of these sessions, our goal is to take you to your aerobic capacity and then to your aerobic limit, i.e. your VO2 max, and basically just hammer around in those areas and try and improve your fatigue resistance, lift your aerobic capacity, and just ultimately make you a stronger rider. So here we are, this is session 10. And it's a biggie, and looks like we've got a lovely little bit of lag on the RGT feed. Don't worry, it will come back hopefully, but when it does, I'll talk you through the session. But we start out with the normal kind of 10-minute warm-up. There we go, back it comes. Hopefully that won't be a feature of the session. So we've got the normal 10-minute warm-up, the 3 fast pedaling efforts, as we almost always do, to be honest. The fast pedaling efforts often might take a slightly different approach with them, but usually kind of do something similar, and they're always about just kind of waking the legs up before you get stuck into the meaty stuff. But this session, as you'll see, pretty chaotic, and it's intended to be. So this session is what we call, it's got a particular name, we just call it Settle Down. And it's an ironic name because you can't, basically. It's a pretty hardcore session. There's not much in the way of being able to get a rhythm. But there is actually, when you go through it, there is some sort of rational element to it and some regularity, which I'll talk you through. You might be able to notice that those two kind of chaotic sectors, they are actually the same. So once you've done it the first time through, you'll have a good idea of how things will unfold the second time round. But yeah, we've got the normal 10-minute warm-up every 2 minutes, kicking up by about 6 to 10 watts. The 3 fast pedaling efforts where we'll just rev the legs up. Then that longer steady state section, one of the few steady state sections in this workout, is the sweet spot section. Okay. So that is 5 minutes long. Okay, so that's 90% of FTP for 5 minutes. And that's kind of like a pre-main set, we often include these sort of pre-main sets as kind of like an extension of the warm-up before the craziness kind of kicks off. And then I'll talk you, I don't think there's much point in me trying to talk through the crazy sectors now because you just won't remember it. But basically, it does actually break down into kind of 5 little blocks. You might be able to just see. And each kind of interval though is 30 seconds long. And we're kind of kicking around from tempo up to just above threshold, around 110% of FTP is kind of where we top out in terms of like the tallest spikes. Oh, that's a lie, actually. There is one 30-second sector at 140% of FTP. But other than that, it's yeah, it's just all over the place, really, and it's intended to be so. So yeah, close a couple of things down, see if I can get the RGT feed running a bit more smoothly. As you can imagine, when we run these sessions, I've got 2 computers running. We've got the live stream, we've got the Zoom feed, we've got all kinds of things, and depending on kind of when we're running the session and kind of what the internet wants to do, we have there's always some sort of technical consideration or issue. It does vary on the day as to what goes wrong. Just how it goes. Yeah, so basically the purpose behind this session, guys, is to kind of replicate the level of unease, if you will, that you experience in a race. Now, I'm fully aware that not everybody doing these sessions is a racer or interested in racing, But I think it's nice, if nothing else, just to have a slightly different session. And this is certainly a different session. It's chaos basically. And what we're working on here is just your ability to stay focused, your ability to keep picking things up, off and off inadequate recovery. Just go for another little burst before you then ease off a bit. And that's kind of exactly what you've got to do in any form of racing, really. It's rare that you get nice regular recovery, which allows you to properly get yourself ready before you kick on again. Normally it's just burst, recover, just about kind of get on top of a gear, and then it goes again. You have to chase down a wheel, or you have to chase down a wheel whilst you're still just gasping for air, and it just comes down to mental strength. Hopefully we won't be turning you inside out too much in this session, but it is a tough one, okay? So if you've been following kind of the training score ramp that we've been progressing along in this series, so we're up to 77 TSS, okay? So TSS, training stress score, is an attempt to quantify the load of the session, how hard it is basically. So this is where we're topping out, okay? We've done quite a few non-erg mode sessions. This is, if you've got a smart trainer or a smart bike, this is definitely a erg mode on session, just so that it's easier to follow, because obviously the power targets are going to change a lot. But don't worry if you don't have an erg mode, erg enabled trainer. Just do your best, and in fact it'll probably be more like an actual race in that respect. So don't worry if individual intervals go red. It's just how it is, really. It's not the end of the world. It's about doing your best, making sure you're hitting the right kind of power right areas. As I say, this can be quite a challenging one to follow if you don't have all the aids. But yeah, for now guys, just settle down, make sure your leg speeds are up above about 85 RPM. So you're spinning around nicely, coming up towards the top of what we call zone 2, if you're familiar with your training zones. Then we're going to hit those fast pedaling efforts, which are in zone 3 at about 80% of FTP. I'm just going to encourage you to spin up your legs upwards of 100 RPM. Okay, so just nice and relaxed for now. You'll notice for the guys that are on the session on Zoom or following from the live coaching feed, you'll notice that we've got the rubber banding effect on RGT. Just to keep it all together, we're riding the Leuven circuit today, which was used in the 2021 World Championships, if I remember correctly. It was one of the World Championships, just can't remember which year. I believe it was another year where Julien Alaphilippe won the World Championship. Very good race, if I remember correctly. I think he attacked and just caught everybody by surprise. Everyone was kind of building it up for the Belgians, because you had Van der Poel and Wout van Aert kind of dueling over who was leading the Belgian team, and it kind of all just crumbled. And then Alaphilippe took advantage of their, not infighting, but their indecision, shall we say, and took the win. It's his second World Championship after he won it in Italy at Imola. So this is another really interesting race. So still nice and relaxed, right up to the top end of zone 2 now at around 72% of FTP. Spinning up, keeping that leg speed above 85 RPM. And that is going to be your challenge. You know, you're probably sick of us going on about cadence all the time, but there is a particular reason. And we have to admit, like, in our experience, the average amateur rider who hasn't perhaps got a great, isn't super experienced and hasn't had much in the way of coaching, the leg speed does tend to be too low. That's just in our experience when we either be dealing with riders through these sessions or when we brought on new athletes to our coaching programs. We do often find that their leg speed is too slow, and that's that's the real reason why we're always banging on about cadence, because if we can teach you guys kind of how to minimize energy wastage, it definitely helps you get through sessions a little bit better, because ultimately you want to be able to get to the session at the end of the session and still feel strong and complete in a high quality fashion. So this session, more than any we've ever done previously, is about keeping your cadence high, because it's chopping and changing all the time. It's really easy to slip into kind of like a heavy, slow cadence as you're trying to pick yourself up and then easing off and then picking yourself up again, much in the same way as it's easy to slip into a low, heavy gear in a race. We'll talk more about that in the sweet spot sector. For now though, let's lift that leg speed. Let's wake up the legs. So you see the power target is around 110 RPM. Let's just look to get above 100 RPM for now. Just get the legs going, switch on those fast twitch muscle fibers, and just generally give ourselves a bit of a slap across the face. Wake up. Last few seconds. 3, 2, 1. And relax. Well, okay. So that's 1 down, 2 to go. So keep the fluids coming on board. Whenever you start a session in your warm-up, when you're on a turbo trainer or a smart trainer, whatever you're using, your Indale trainer, one of the luxuries we have is just being able to drink whenever we want, not having to worry about traffic or road furniture. So make use of it in your warm-ups, guys. Get the fluids on board. Particularly if you're training in the mornings, it might be worthwhile having an electrolyte drink, because you get very, very dehydrated over the course of the night. We'll wake up dehydrated, and if you're then going to train and dehydrate yourself even more, it's good practice to start your morning with an electrolyte drink. Okay, just an FYI. So let's get ready for round 2. Here we go then. Come on then. Let's look to hit that 110 RPM target on the cadence this time then, guys. So just relaxing the upper body, trying to keep the bum planted. If you start to bounce up and down, it means that you're too rigid in your upper body. Your bum should be able to stay planted, and your legs turn over at a really high cadence before you start to bump up and down. Okay, last few seconds, keep it going, and relax. So we've got one more round, and then remember, we've then just got a minute before we get into that sweet spot section, that 5-minute sweet spot section, and just basically straight into it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of how easy it is to slip into big heavy gear, and why that's a bit of a no-no when you're racing or in a session like this where there's lots of chopping and changing in terms of power targets. Okay, I'll talk on that a little bit. I understand that sweet spot, it's going to be hard to take in information, but I will get my point across very early before the pain of the effort starts to sink in. Well, it shouldn't be too painful, but the concentration starts to drift, shall we say. So coming up to the final one, this time let's go and get up to around 120 RPM on the cadence. Here we go. Let's rev it up now. Get those legs pumping. Rev it, rev it, rev it. Let's go, let's go, let's go. 10. In there, last few seconds, 120 RPM. Remember, that's our target. And relax. Okay, so just a minute. So get the fluids on board, and let's get ready for action, guys, because we're straight into it. We go straight up to sweet spot, so that's 90% of FTP. So I'm going to want you to get your cadence upwards of 90 RPM before we get to that sweet spot section and the power feeds in. Okay. So as I was saying, when you're doing a session like this with lots of chopping and changing, when you're in a race, you know, and there's lots of tools, particularly towards the end of a race where things are kicking off, lots of attacks, lots of responses, chasing wheels, etc. It's very easy to get stuck into rolling a big heavy gear. The problem with that, guys, is you're relying very heavily on kind of what's called your phosphocreatine system to power that, really explosive system. Whereas actual fact, and a lot of examples, as we just lift up to sweet spot now, a lot of examples, you would be better from an easier gear and just kind of taking a bit more time over kind of pulling in somebody that's made an attack. It's not always appropriate. Obviously, sometimes if you've got someone who's an absolute weapon and you cannot let them get away, you just got to do what you can. But quite often, particularly if someone's attacking early on in a race, you can kind of just leave them out there a little bit and build your effort a bit more slowly. But one of the things you just don't want to get into rolling a big, heavy, sluggish gear, because it is less efficient and it is going to tire you more quickly. Always want to keep your leg speed pretty high, upwards of 80 RPM at the very least. So that's our goal in this session. Right now your cadence should be upwards of 90 RPM. Default rule, as we said on a few occasions, is 90. If you're going to go up to sweet spot, just think 90% of FTP, upwards of 90 RPM. And then basically, as the effort increases, your cadence should build from there. Just as kind of like a loose general rule to help you think about how high your cadence should be as the intensity increases. Alright, so let's settle into this. This is a time trialing type effort. So now we're up to power. Hopefully our leg speed is up to the 90 RPM plus cadence target. Let's relax. Okay, so draw the shoulders away from the ears. Just soften the upper body. Allow the bum to plant on the saddle. Keep the leg speed high. And just tap out a nice rhythm. Okay? Already coming up towards 2 minutes down. So I'm just going to talk to you through the first sector of this first chaos sector. Let's call them chaos sectors. So once we get through sweet spot, what's going to happen is going to drop down to an easy 65% of FTP for 30, then up to 80% of FTP for 30, back down to 70 before we start building up to 110, starting with 100%, 105, and then 110. So that first little sector of the chaos segment, okay, that's what's going to happen. So it's 65 for 30, 80 for 30, 70 for 30, and then we build from 100, 105 to 110 before we then drop right back down again. Okay, so that's the first little segment of the chaos sector. Okay, so be ready for it. I'll also keep talking to you through it so you know what's coming up. For now, we're trying to stay as relaxed as possible at sweet spot, keeping the legs turning over above 90 RPM. So keep it going, guys. We have a short bit of relief, albeit not long, and even in the release sections there's lots of changing going on. But just remember, keep that leg speed nice and high. If you need kind of like a baseline, keep your leg speed above 85 RPM for the rest of the session now, okay? Anything above a sweet spot should be well over 90. But 85 is your kind of bargain basement level cadence. So coming to the last minute of sweet spot, so stay nice and steady. Don't worry if you're finding this a little bit harder than you might expect. This is meant to be sort of a 7 out of 10 effort, 10 being a max on sprint. You are still warming up, so don't worry if you're finding this harder than sweet spot might ordinarily feel. Okay, just keep on going. Last 30 seconds, just keep it nice and steady, and then we're going to get a brief bit of sort of recovery, And we really get stuck in with that first sort of mini segment of the chaos sector. First one at least. Last few seconds. So keep the cadence up as the power drops. So we're down to 65% of FTP now. Just 30 seconds. Okay, so just enjoy the relative comfort as we're back down to kind of the middle of zone 2. Just for another 15 seconds, then we're up to 80%, then back down to 70 before we start that build up to 110%. So stay concentrated, stay focused, keep the leg speed high. That is your main goal for the session, other than obviously meeting the targets. Just staying on it. So we're back up to 80% now, where we were for the fast pedaling efforts. Spinning up those legs. Better to have a sort of arbitrarily high cadence on the easiest sections than having to kind of keep accelerating with the leg speed, because every time you have to really accelerate with the leg speed, it's extra energy wasted. It's better that your leg speed already be high and you have somewhere to go. Okay, so now down to 70. So back to the top end of zone 2. And next up, we've got that build up to 110, starting at 100% of FTP, 105, then 110, before we drop right back down together. Stay on it, guys. At least it's not boring, this session. You're always having to focus. Here we go. All right, starting to build, so up to 100% of FTP. So again, make sure that leg speed is really nice and high, well above 90 RPM. We're here for building off this for a minute and a half. 3 intervals, each of 30 seconds. Keep it going, keep it going. A few seconds in, we're going to pick it up again. 5% extra. Here we go. And 5% of FTP. So top end of zone 4. Okay, coming up to the top now. 110%. 30 seconds, stay with it. Then we're going to drop right back down to 65 for 30 seconds. Last 10. Okay, speed high, remember. Keep it high as we drop down now. So back down to 65. Back down to zone 2. So guys, this next sector in the chaos segment, we're going straight up to 140% of FTP, okay? So it's basically an anaerobic effort. Then we build it, then we're slowly taking the power down to 100, then 90, then 80, and so on, okay? So stay on it, let's get ready for it. Get that leg speed nice and high. The power's about to go through the roof. Here we go. So 140% of FTP. Let's go for it, come on. And then we're going to steadily work our way down the backside of the build. So stay focused, don't release completely after the next 13 seconds. Stay on it. Okay, keep the power, keep the leg speed as we drop down to 100% of FTP, and then we're going to steadily drop down to 90, then 80, back down to about 65. Okay, so stay focused, stay on it. Keep it going, keep it going. Okay, dropping down to 90. Then it's going to be 80 until we go down to 65. Stay on it, guys, stay on it. Working that way down, nearly down towards bottom. Good, good, good. Keeping it on working. Keeping that leg speed high, remember. Okay, so now we're up to 115% here. We're here for 2 intervals, okay? We're here for a minute, and then it's going up to 130% of FTP. Okay? So nice high leg speed. Sorry, I should have given you a little bit more warning there. I was too busy trying to work out what was going on myself. This is not a session where you can easily remember. Okay, so working hard, come on. Really nice high leg speed, probably close to 100 RPM. Got another 30 seconds at 115%. Then a burst at 130, and then you're right back down to an easy level, okay? So stay on it, guys. Last 2 seconds, then we're going. Come, ready. Okay, hit it, let's go. 130%. Punch it, guys, come on. Push. You're gonna get a bit of recovery after this. Last 2 seconds. Okay, right. And a little bit of recovery, so I'll talk you through best I can the next sections. So we're down to 40% of FTP, and we're going to steadily build again up through 65 to 75, then up to 100%. 110% is where it crests, but we drop back down to 100 and then push again at 130. I hope that makes sense. So just building up this side of the slope. Okay, to 100% of FTP. Then that little mini crest is 110, back down to 100, and then punch for 130. Okay, just keep the leg speed high and just stay concentrated. Just keep on doing it. You're not too far from the end of this chaos center, okay? So stay with it. We're building. Next speed, remember, let's try and keep it above 90 if we can. Okay, so up to 100% of FTP. So we're here for 30, then we go up to 110, and back down to 100, and for that little punch at the end of this mini sector. So leg speed high. Come on, guys. This is what I mean about it. Easy to kind of drag you down as things are chopping and changing. You're trying to figure out what's going on, what's coming next, how to gauge your effort. Just keep the leg speed high. It will help, I promise. So we're up to 110 now. I'm going to drop down. Up and down, back to 100% of FTP, and then we're going to finish off with that punch, 130%, okay? So stay with it. Just finishing off 20 seconds at 100% of FTP before we hit the final punch. And then work, and then go right back down to an easier level. Ready, come on, pick up the leg speed, few RPM on top. Let's get ready to hit it. Here we go, come on. Push, 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 push. It's gonna get easier in about 20 seconds. Come on, guys. It's the last session of the series. You always knew it was gonna be that's how it be. Last 10. Good, now we're down to about 65%. So you've got a minute in zone 2, so you've got 65% 30, 70 30. And then we start that final build to the final mini sector of this chaos segment, where you're just going to build from 90 up to 115% of FTP before we finish with the sprint. Okay? So that's how it's going to unfold. You got this 70% before we go up to 90, and then steadily build up to that final sprint. Okay, so this is where kind of being on top of that leg speed and being really focused matters the most. Okay, come on guys, you can do this. Get yourself ready. Okay, up to 90% we go. 90% of FTP up to sweet spot means 90 RPM and 90 RPM plus. Try and take little sips of water if you can. But you've got pure recovery coming your way shortly. Just get through this final sort of mini sector and you're good. Up to 95. The leg speed high, let it drag you down as the power increases. Last 10, then we go up another notch. Okay. To 100%. And I'm just going to keep on building till we get to 115 and then level it out with a big sprint. Okay, up we go again. Up to, what's this, 140% of FTP now? I think. Never been known for my maths. Unfortunately, it doesn't always give you. You don't get the percentage targets on RGT, which would be a nice feature, I think. Okay, so up to 110 now. Oh, forgive me, no, we're up to 115 now. Skipping 110 up to 115. This is such a hard session to coach. Come on, get those legs going. We should be upwards of 90, closer, if not over 100 RPM now. And get ready for this big last sprint. We're going up to 115% of FTP. It's one big last turn and burn. Come on, guys. Push. You got pure recovery after this. Halfway. Last few seconds. 3, 2, 1. And relax. And relax. Well done. Good stuff. Okay. Right back down to about 40, 45% of FTP. Just relaxing, spinning up the legs, gathering ourselves. Once you kind of just got back on top of the gear, calm down a little bit, start getting the fluids back on board and start bringing the leg speed back up above about 80 RPM. Really well done, guys. Chaos, right? Intended to be. I tried to bring a level of kind of understanding to it and try and give you a little bit of notice, but it's hard. I'm chopping and changing between this and the session plan. It's hard to know where you are on it, but you've had one ground of it, so you know kind of, to at least a certain extent, what you're dealing with. You basically got those kind of 5 mini sectors, 2 of which have sprints. The rest of them are kind of threshold up to VO2 max. So zone 4 or zone 5 type efforts, and then you've got the 2 sprints in there as well. Okay, for now though, don't think about it. Just stay calm, get the fluids on board, and spin up those legs. So well done. So you're well over halfway through the session. You basically just got these 5 little mini sectors of chaos segment, and then you're done. Hopefully, whilst you might not be enjoying it from a physical perspective, hopefully you're enjoying the fact that it's engaging, it's dynamic. I do much prefer sessions like this than sitting at a constant steady state for a long time, because that is all kind of mental and your mind can drift, whereas this, you have to stay focused just to kind of keep on it. Find sessions like this go a lot quicker, or feel like they go a lot quicker. So maybe you totally disagree. I don't know. Regardless, doing sessions like this are really good. I mean, what we're not trying to do is try and replicate a race 100%, because there's just no point. You might as well do a race. What we're trying to do though is we're trying to basically just kind of get you used to kind of irregular efforts, whilst also trying to get you to accumulate a certain amount of time in different training zones using different energy systems. That's what we're trying to do with a session like this. Okay, so we're trying to get some high quality time at and above threshold, whereas in a race it is totally dependent on how the race is run as to actually what stimuli you get from it. But it's really important to do sessions like this that are somewhat irregular. I think it is quite, we do a lot of very kind of straightforward sessions. We do like to keep it simple for people, generally speaking. But I think it is important to do sessions like this every now and then. One, just to keep it interesting, but also there is that specific purpose. If you do any kind of racing, being forced to go again before you're even nearly fully recovered. It's a skill. It's not just a physical skill. It's a mental one as well. Having that drive to pick yourself back up repeatedly, it matters, and that's often why some of the best athletes in the world might not necessarily be best in terms of physical conditioning. It's just their ability to keep going, drag a little bit more out themselves, and not give up. And that matters at any level, really. So just less than 40 seconds until we start getting into it. So this first sector, remember, well, don't you wait, remember, because I barely remember. This first sector, we've got just got zone 2 for the first 30, so 65 for the first 30, then up to 80, then back down to 70 before we start a build up to 110% of FTP. Okay, so that's the first little mini sector. Here we go then. So we're just going up to 65% of FTP, but let's bring our cadence back up to kind of where it should be. So we want to be upwards of 85 RPM. Remember what I said that was your kind of baseline for the session. Get above 85 RPM. And then just build as the intensity builds, both in terms of power, but also in terms of leg speed. Obviously seconds, then we're up to 80% to zone 3. Here we go. Okay, let's switch on, guys, now. Just tick off the mini sectors by its mini sector. Just work your way through it, stay focused, stay on it the whole way through. And it will be over before you know it. Down to 70. So just enjoy the lighter riding before it kicks off again, going straight up to 100%, then 105, then 110 before it eases off. All right, so just get ready for this 90-second build, this 90-second push. Sip of fluids, and let's get ready to go. In 3, 2, 1. Here we go, up we go. So up to 100% of FTP to begin with, topping out 110. 90 seconds of hard work. Keep building, keep working. Nice high leg speed still. Go out to 105 now. Okay. Last little push until there's some relief, 110% of FTP. Keep going, keep going. Then we're going to drop back down to zone 2. Coming up towards the end of the first of this mini sector. Let's kick them off. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, back down to zone 2. We keep the leg speed upwards of 85 RPM, remember. Don't allow it to drop too low. Okay, so just remember, 20 seconds of recovery. Then we punch it at 140%, that first of the 2 sprints, or anaerobic efforts, and we work our way down the slope from 140 down to 100, then 90, 80, and so on. Okay, so you can rev up the legs now, come on. Get ready to punch it. 30 seconds at 140. Here we go, come on. You're over halfway. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, now keep on the focus, keep on the leg speed. We're just gonna work our way down, okay? Your legs are gonna be flooded with lactate, but you just got to resist the urge to ease off. Your legs will come back to you steadily. It's just a very uncomfortable process. So stay on it, keep the leg speed high. And just believe that your legs will come back, and they will eventually. It's a horrible way of doing it. Okay, down to 90. Already as we go sub threshold, you should start to feel just the inkling of relief, albeit not proper recovery. Last few seconds, then we're dropping down into 80, and then we should start to really feel kind of legs steadily coming back. Okay, good, down to 80. So you should start to feel a bit of relief. Working our way down. So that's coming towards the end of the micro sector 2 or mini sector. Okay, so just 3 mini sectors to go. Back down to zone 2 now. Really well done, guys. Just keep it going, stay focused. Just 3 mini sectors to go. Next up, we've got 2 intervals at 115 before that burst. Okay, at 130. So just stay switched on, get ready for it, keep the leg speed high, and let's get ready to go for round 3. Here we go. So straight up to 115. I know you're not going to be properly recovered. I know you're going to be aching, going to be tired. Just drive through this next 90 seconds, and then we go down to pure recovery for 30, okay? So there is some proper relief on the way. You just got to stay on it and keep driving those legs. That's 30 seconds down. One more at 115, then a push at 130, and then that pure recovery is coming. Keep driving, keep pushing. Okay, 130%, come on, rev it up. Just fire it in, then you'll get some recovery. 20. 10. Last few seconds. Okay, well done, well done. Okay, so the power's going to release, but keep the legs turning over. Don't relax completely. There's not enough time to kind of switch off and drift along. Okay. So we've just done that 130 section. Got some relief. And then we're going to build back up. You remember, we build back up to 100, 110, back down to 100, and then we've got another little push. Okay, so that's what we're up to again. So it's building one for the penultimate time. Remember, it's working so hard to keep that leg speed nice and high. This is where it really matters. We're in the penultimate microsector as we go up to 100% of FTP now. Okay. 2 minutes of hard work before we drop down. So just think of it that way. Just 2 minutes of hard work. A few more seconds, then we're going up to 110% to get ready to add in a few RPM on the leg speed. Let's pick it up. Ready? Okay, pick it up. 110% before we drop back down to 100, and then go into that final little push. Halfway at 110. Into zone 5. VO2 max range now. Last few seconds before we drop down to threshold. Okay, good, that down to threshold now. Back down to 100%. Not going to be much recovery found here, but any little bit helps at this stage. We've got that last push then coming up in about 15 seconds. And then we're on to the final mini sector of the session, on to the final push of the session. So stay with it, guys. Don't give up now. Just give it everything you got. Okay, 3 seconds, then we push. Ready? Here we go, come on. Minutes, then we drop right down to get some relief. 10. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, and relax, and relax. Well done. Okay, so down to about 65% of FTP. So we've just got this final build and sprint. So if you remember it from last time, just get the info up. We build from 65 up to 75, then we kick on to 100 to 100%. Build from there. Sorry, up to 90% and build from there. It's just numbers everywhere. I do query how much help I've been in this session. I'll try my best. Done, guys. So just building. Next one, we're going out to Sweetspot again. This is the final push of the session. Okay, so just get yourself pumped, get yourself revved. One final time, one little bit of hard work. Come on, guys. Right, so we're up to 90% of FTP again. That means cadence upwards of 90 RPM. This is where it really matters that that leg speed's nice and high. This is where hopefully all the efficiency with which you've ridden previously will just give you a little bit extra juice to finish off the job. We've just got a few minutes of hard work, about 2.5 minutes. Sorry, 3 minutes of hard work. No, I was right the first time, 2.5 minutes. To 95% of FTP now. Last few seconds. Up to 100 now. And remember, we've got that jump to 110, 115, and then the final sprint. Okay, so you've just got a few little intervals left, and you're done. Just so close now. Get ready for the jump. Up we go. So 105% now. Then we go up to 115. And the final sprint. Just motoring along. See, we're at about 50 k's an hour at the moment on this sort of downhill section. Okay, up we go then. Come on then. Last minute of hard work, 30 seconds at 115, then our last max level sprint to finish the job. So get ready, come on, get pumped, fire it in. Last effort. 10 seconds, then we drop the hammer. Come on, guys, come on, I'm just putting you on. Let's do this, 3, 2, 1, come on. Push, 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 push. $20. $10. 3, 2, 1, and relax, properly relax, really relax. Well done, everyone. Whoa. 77 TSS in the bag there. Brutal session. Hopefully yeah, nice and dynamic, nice and interesting. Hopefully you felt like you flew through that. In one respect at least. I imagine in another respect it was just hell. But really well done, guys. As a tough set. That's the final session in our To The Limit series. So just want to say thank you guys for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know, the whole purpose of it has been just take a sledgehammer to that FTP and help you rebuild it. So if you've done all 10 sessions and got through them relatively unscathed, and also been doing kind of balancing out with some good low intensity endurance training, hopefully you're ready for an FTP test and a nice jump in that FTP. You know, just remember there are a lot of variables that feed into your FTP. There's a article on our website. I think the title is something like "Do you really know your FTP?" or something like that. Can't quite remember, but that basically explains all the elements that go into your FTP, how to test for it, what it really means. So have a read of that and consider whether you're ready for an FTP test. But otherwise, yeah, thanks very much for joining us, guys. We hope to see you on a session soon. If you've enjoyed these sessions, we do have many more. We've got a whole library of on-demand series of sessions like this. We've got cycle seminars, we've got training plans, and of course our main service is our bespoke coaching relationships. We've got cycling and triathlon coaching relationships. So have a look on our website, give it a once over. You can also book yourself in for a free 15-minute coach consultation if you need a bit of help deciding what you want to do. But otherwise, guys, really well done. I hope you enjoyed the series and that session. Lots of hard work in the bag. Good job. Any questions about any of this? Of course, just drop us an email at info@riak.fitness, or you can drop us a message on social media. Always there to help, guys. But yeah, really well done. Look forward to seeing you again. See you again soon. Last few seconds, take the cool down, have a nice old stretch. Remember those stretch routines on our website. Nice high protein meal and a pat on the back. Well done. That's our To The Limit series done. Excellent work. Take care, look after yourselves, everyone. See you soon.